We're up. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm not David Wagner or Cody.
I'm close
Brown.
to Cody. I'm Cody
You are.
Adams.
He's one of the Codys.
It's close to Cody
You are
Brown.
Cody.
We've got both of your seats are filled by guests today.
Yay.
Pretty
So
nice.
way
You have to
better.
do
Nice.
that, yeah.
Except
Way
you're both
better.
regulars, so we can't even consider you guests,
We're gonna have to
Honestly.
put Danielle on the payroll, like
I
legitimately.
feel
on the
like I
payroll.
should be.
right? So 1 hour a week.
At least.
Do they ever buy you lunch?
Yes.
That's
David does.
gonna probably cover it.
He's very
Yeah,
sweet.
that works then.
Yeah.
Cody does not.
No, Cody doesn't buy anything.
No.
I wouldn't
But
if
he's
I
good
was.
for entertainment. So
Yeah, he's a funny dude.
I like it.
Plus, David makes all kinds of money, so he
No,
can
he's
afford
so
it.
loaded.
Yeah, they're over there taking care of manager stuff.
I heard
Managers.
Yeah,
I got a
Real
text like you
conversation.
came and got me at like I don't know 10 till.
yeah.
And then in typical managerial style, I got a text from Cody Brown at like 10:58. Like, hey, can you do the video cast?
Oh,
with
that's
Jeff
because I
and
completely
Danielle?
forgot to respond to his text when he told me to like get you and you.
I just think it's funny that they
just wouldn't
wait.
do
I
it.
mean, you know that a meeting's going to take you a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fine. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Come on, people. Get your management
It's
skills
that little
up.
line
kidding.
in my contract that says other duties as assigned that I should have gotten written out.
That you should have renegotiated.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Too late now.
Hey, but then you get to spend the afternoon with me.
That's true.
Yeah, and
all
it's
worth
pretty
it.
nice to be in here to do this show. You guys up to anything interesting this week?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing for me.
Oh, I do have
Oh,
it real quick.
what
So,
is it?
and anybody who watched the morning show knows about this because I mentioned it in weather because I'm doing weather this week, which is totally random and weird.
Also,
but
that other in your
yeah,
contract.
that very
Right.
specific other in my
Like, hey,
contract.
you need to show up at 4:00 in the morning and tell people
And do
about the
something
weather.
you know nothing about. Just kidding. I know everything about weather. I'm not lying. Anyway, so my wife, I got a text at like, I don't know, it's probably like 6:30ish. And it said a few expletives and some other letters and jumblings.
Oh,
And
right.
then followed by a picture of a massive spider in our bathroom.
I would freak
Yeah, and I'm
out.
talking like that big.
Yeah,
Like
easily.
tarantula?
So I think it was a wolf spider because tarantulas
yeah.
don't you? I mean, I don't know this. I'm not an expert, and I'm sure somebody will complain. But I think tarantulas don't usually like have like a grayish brown color to them. Like they're not like super gray. Maybe they are. I don't know.
I don't think so.
It depends, I think.
On
Some
the
of them are
on
gray
the
and
type.
some of them are brown.
This one just kind of looked like. I have a picture.
I mean, the
of
picture
it.
that you showed
Oh,
me
let me see
earlier
it.
looked like a curled up spider that had been.
I would probably be on the
Thoroughly
countertop and
poisoned.
be like, Cody, get home. I'm going to
Yeah.
need
So here,
saving. Holy t-
Yeah, that
Oh!
might actually. Can
Yeah.
I see that a little closer?
yeah,
I just took my breath away.
yeah.
Wow.
Is there?
It's not hairy enough to be a tarantula. It doesn't
That's
look like
then
that's
that's
what it
that
is.
was my
Yeah.
and the butt isn't quite like every
And if
tarantula
it's
I've
that
seen.
big, I don't think it's a brown recluse, because brown recluses have a pretty distinctive pattern on their back.
Yeah, it looked like a wolf spider.
That
to
I
might
am
be
not
it.
scared of snakes. I am not scared of most anything. Spiders takes me to this irrational
They're-
place
I mean,
in my brain where it
I don't know.
literally
If,
takes.
you know, I wish we could get closer to that camera, Cody.
Let me see if this works.
The focus is set for way back here,
Oh,
so everybody will.
so stinking crazy. I can't.
It is.
Ugh.
It is
So-
that time of year in West Texas
Yeah,
too.
no kidding.
It's the
And-
spidery
And
time.
I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, they're out like really bad right now." So I got the text that said a bunch of bad words, and what do I do? And I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm in the middle of a show, and my wife teaches English to Chinese children on the internet." And so she's like, "Well, I have a class in like 4 minutes. So like, what do I do?" I was like, "Spray it, I guess, and I'll deal with it when I get home." And so she's like, "Well, I like literally can't." So I'm thinking that I'm gonna have to rush home after the show and find this spider and kill it. She finally texts me like right as the show's ending, like, "Hey, I sprayed it. I had to leave as soon as I was done spraying it with bug spray, and go teach my class. So your problem when you get home."
So it's just sitting in the bathroom in a puddle
gonna
of
be-
Yeah, it's gonna be like a
Poison.
radioactive spider.
awesome.
So
Oh, like arachnophobia. Do you
yeah,
remember that movie?
I love arachnophobia.
Oh, God.
I hate arachnophobia, but it's such a cool movie.
Oh,
John Goodman in Arachnophobia, amazing.
Yeah. That scene where she's like showering
No,
and
I
it jumps
can't.
down
No,
from
no,
the
no, don't
corner
talk
onto
about
her
it.
hand. Yeah. So anyway, I'm like, okay, so I got to go home. I got to rush home and kill this spider because I got stuff to do at work. And so, and there will be people who are like, "No, don't kill the spider. Like, save it and put it outside."
No.
Like, I'm
Murder
killing
it.
it. Burning the house to the ground.
Yes,
killing
please.
it. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Savannah, yeah. So anyway, I rush home and I get home And the bedroom door is shut. This is in the master bathroom. So the bedroom door is shut. I open the bedroom door. The bathroom door is also shut. So now I'm like double not sure what I'm going to walk into. And I walk in, and where the spider was supposed to be is no longer there.
Oh, no.
So now I'm going,
I have a
crap.
heart attack.
Yeah, what do I do? Because I certainly don't want to like walk into a tiny bathroom and try and find this spider. So I go out and I get the Swiffer mop, and I take off the mop end, and I just have the stick,
so
and I'm like
have to,
swatting stuff off the counter, like try and find it.
Because then not only is the spider, if it's alive and running around your bathroom, it's really upset.
Yo, yeah, like super
and
pissed
covered
off.
in poison.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, what do I do? So I keep moving stuff. My wife has a makeup bag, and I pick up the makeup bag, and I dump it out. Nothing. I can't find it. And I like, for a solid 10 minutes, I don't know where this spider is. And I'm like, it's gone. This is bad.
I wouldn't sleep
I
in the
look
house.
in the sink, and my wife's like Under Armour headband is in the sink, and inside the headband is this spider like curled up. Which was a relief, but then also I go, crap, now I have to figure out like how to get this spider taken care of, and I'm not picking it up, like not
just
a
throw
chance.
the whole headband away.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
the whole
right.
thing.
Well,
Done.
I used the Swiffer stick to get the headband and to shake the spider out into the sink. And then I went and got our Dyson, and I put like the longest extension I can on it. So here's where it gets like crazy, because I'm like, okay, I'll just suck up the spider. We're good to go.
Done.
I suck up the spider, and as soon as it goes through, the vacuum just dies.
Well,
And I'm like, freaking A, the spider is so big that it's like actually killed my
The vacuum
vacuum.
is-
Yeah. And now I'm stuck in this limbo
now it's
position
like a
of
horror movie.
okay, do I empty
You throw the
the
Dyson
vacuum?
away.
Do I empty the vacuum in the trash and hope that the spider falls out? Or is the spider actually stuck in the tubing and has clogged it? Turns out the vacuum had just died, and my wife hadn't put it on the charger, so it was dead.
Okay.
And I emptied the trash, and I was like, well, I don't see the spider in the trash. So I had to open and pull off the extension, and I looked through the extension, and there was nothing in there. So now I'm like, oh, crap. So I had to get chopsticks
And that's when the
from dinner the
violins-
night before.
the
and I had
creepy
to,
violins started.
And I had to go through the trash, in the trash can, through all the dust, and find the dead spider curled up. So long story short, the spider is out of the house.
Oh, thank
the trash
goodness.
was then also taken right out of the house at the
we have
same
an
time.
audience of people who are really freaked out right now.
Hi.
And,
Good.
which leads me to my next point, I forgot to wash my hands after I was going through the bathroom and moving hairspray, and all this
Oh,
like
thank
bug
goodness.
spray had like been all over this
Yeah.
stuff. And then like I ate something.
Oh, good.
So now I'm worried.
You've got spider something in you.
Or
like
bug
arachnophobia.
spray.
They're going to start coming out of your body.
That's one of my biggest fears. Urban legends, like when that chick pops that zit,
It's gonna happen. It's
and
gonna
that
happen.
it's like a
Yeah.
spider egg, and it busts, and all those spiders crawl out of her
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
So
Or
anyway,
somebody who has like a spider in your ear.
yeah, those videos freak me out. Where they're like, first of all, looking inside of an ear is weird, but then that spider like creeps out. It's like, hey, I'm here.
Hey,
so,
guys.
I will not be sleeping in my bedroom for the next several nights.
Yeah.
Oh,
Despite the fact that the spider is dead. Here's the worst part, though. It
gets worse?
It does. Earlier this weekend, my wife was out of town, so it was me bacheloring it up with my children. And I had to go to the closet to get something out of the bedroom closet. And we had some boxes stacked. And I picked up a box because I had to get to the box underneath of it. And I just saw like a gray leg,
Uh-oh.
maybe a couple. And it just scurried away. And I was like, nope. And I put the box, turned the light back off, shut the door. So I'm hopeful.
So you're a flight kind of person.
I am, very much
not
so.
a fight. Okay.
I'm hopeful that was the same spider. Because if not, we have another one in the
I'm
bedroom.
going to tell your wife to listen to this program because
No,
she
don't.
should
Because then I'll
be
have
real
because
mad
I'm
at you.
gonna have to go through the closet.
The Addams household has multiple spiders.
Okay, so we live on the lake, and like they spawn overnight.
bet you get
like,
lots of spiders,
everywhere,
yeah.
and you can only spray so far off the water. Like
Mm-hmm.
the exterminator can't go. So we have these jet skis that we drive up on, these floating dock things, and by the time we go to get on them, even if we rode them the day before, they're just re-cobwebbed. And my husband's like, actually, if you just kind of swoop it with your hand, it just makes a big ball. And I'm like, no, that's never happening for me.
Nope.
So
I'm
we're
never
on
doing
the
that.
lake. I've thrown him off because I'm a good wife. And he's in the water. And all of a sudden I look down and there's a spider. And it probably was like that big-ish. It wasn't very big. And in my brain, I'm like, don't freak out. It's not that big of a deal. And before I can convince myself of that, I jumped in the water and like abandoned the jet ski. My husband's like, what's going
What are
on?
you doing?
I'm like, there's a spider, which you have to realize I had sunshades on all my door. Like, I wasn't planning on being in the water at any point. I abandoned ship.
That's how I
That's
am.
great.
Man. Spiders,
That's
I
funny.
don't.
I've gotten
took
way
my
better
breath
about
away.
spiders than I used to be.
Really?
They used to really freak me out.
See, I thought I had, and I think
Yeah.
I've digressed. Because
I don't do bugs in general.
Oh.
Like when my wife and I first got married, we lived in a terrible apartment.
Yeah.
Just awful. And we'd been married like a week. We didn't even have we had a mattress, but we didn't have like a bed or anything. And I woke up early morning to a shrill scream because there was a cockroach on my wife's face. Yeah. So
I would
like
scream at
we
that, though.
left and went and bought a frame for the bed.
there are no words for
So-
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I told her it was a water bug. For a year, I lied to my wife and told her we had water bugs.
Oh, that's
They're
a
the
good way
same
to start
thing.
out a marriage.
That's-
I really
that's
they
like
are the
that.
same thing.
they're exactly the same
They're
thing.
just a different
That's-
type of roach.
It's funny, like I
marketing.
lived in Georgia, I lived in Florida, I lived in New York, and the people would call them in Georgia and Florida. They called them palmetto bugs,
Yeah.
but they're basically like the big roaches
Like
that
the-
fly,
Yeah.
and the like.
Okay, can we change
I
the
kept-
subject?
They
Quickly.
really. I have seen grown men scream like children
Yeah.
when a flying roach approaches them because they're like.
One of the
It's
first
scary.
stories
They've
I
been
did
horrible.
was about these, back in Indiana, about these people living in a house. The landlord wasn't taking care of what they called a roach problem.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times those stories end up not being as severe as they make them out to be, just because sometimes people just feel like they need help in a situation. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go check it out. We got there late at night because they're out at night. And you walked in and like the corners of the house were
Oh,
just
no.
covered in them. And they're like, you think that's bad? Walk outside. And I had a camera. I was a photog at the time. Walked outside and I shined the light down at the ground, and it looked like the ground was moving.
It was like the Mummy.
Yeah, we had to when we were done with the story. My reporter friend and I literally had to rush home. We stripped down, throw our clothes in a trash bag, showered because you don't
Yeah,
want to take that.
yeah.
It was
You
gross.
don't want any of that.
So there's that.
I mean, that was a good segue.
Yeah, let's talk about national days because I was about to start talking more about bugs and
I mean, now I'm
Well,
gonna have a
Jeff
phobia
has
of
lived
this
in a
thing.
lot of different places.
A lot of different places.
A lot of different bugs.
So those bugs are bad. Spiders kind of suck. You sort of need them around to take care of actual bad bugs.
No, I don't. I'll kill them.
Um,
No, I'm good.
the worst though in Brooklyn, I was managing a building
Oh, I forget you're from New York.
and I got a text from one of the tenants, and it was just a picture of a little tiny red bug, and they said, "Is this a bed bug?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what bed bugs look like," because I'm actually from here. I grew up here,
Oh,
and then
okay.
I lived in New York for a while. So I looked up what bed bugs were, and I thought, "Oh crap, that looks like a bed bug." So you start, if you've never dealt with bed bugs, you start looking up like what it is you're supposed to do. They're horrible.
Yeah.
They are the worst thing you can possibly have.
Yeah.
Because you literally have to get everything that you own that's made of wood or cloth completely cleaned, completely it's so expensive, and
Yeah.
it will overturn your entire life if you get bed bugs because we don't use DDT anymore,
Right.
basically. Which, for good reason. Hey guys, you know what National Day it is? That's all right, so what do we have? National Fresh Breath Day.
I'm failing miserably at that. I just ate a Hatch green chili
Really?
potato chip or corn chip.
Yeah, corn chip breaths are
Corn chip
one of
breath
the
is
worst.
a rare breath.
I have a better. My husband eats those olives that have the entire clove of garlic.
love those.
amazing. But the breath has to be
Jesus, when he opens the bottle, me and my daughter leave the room.
That's
I can't.
everybody's like, never mind.
No, it's so bad.
I had this friend in high school. I was learning to play chess, and he was an obnoxious guy just on his own.
Naturally.
He was the kind of person that would stand over your shoulder and tell you what chess moves to make.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
rude.
sort of like somebody who does that with card games or something like that.
I
But
hate
one
that.
day he was eating tortilla chips and doing it like right next to my face. just breathing a hot corn chip breath into my face and
Send
telling me
you
what chess
over.
moves to make.
National Fresh Breath Day. Take a mint.
Yeah, everybody. National Root Beer Float Day.
Oh, I can do that.
Underrated and overrated all at the same time.
You hate Reuben floats?
The problem I have is it has to be a really good ice cream and a really good root beer.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the ratio isn't correct, so you end up with just a giant cup of fizz.
Or my favorite is you get that tres leches, which
Yeah,
and
yeah.
add root beer.
Yeah,
It's basically
that sounds
the
really
same.
good.
It's like, I mean,
That
sure.
sounds really good.
It is. But you have to get diet root beer to compensate for it.
I haven't I haven't had a root beer float in a long time. I used to do Coke floats a lot when I was
Yeah, I
a
like
kid,
the
though.
Coke floats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the orange soda, like Dreamsicle.
Yum. I bet that's really good.
Yeah.
I think that's a guy thing. I don't think girls are
Root
that
beer
into
floats?
root beer floats or like,
Root
I
beer
don't
in
know,
general?
maybe. I don't know. I just
I-
never was into float.
I
Well, that's the
didn't think
thing,
it
though. I
was-
don't think a lot of people. I feel like that was like the 1950s and 60s.
Yeah.
It was like way more popular.
I didn't think that was like a gendered.
Agreed. Okay, I'm not going to take it gender. It will be
All
a
right.
generational thing.
National Wiggle Your Toes Day.
Done.
So here's everyone just wiggled their toes.
We've got that sorted.
Here's the
That's
thing
done.
I hate about my attire. Obviously, is like dress attire all the time, and so I wear dress socks with like dress shoes.
Right.
And I like to have my dress socks like super tight and like tight against my leg. Like I hate like when my sock is
Compression
sagging.
socks.
Yeah,
I like it.
but it constricts my toes, and so then I
Oh,
get like these weird
cramps.
like cramps and like this like almost like claustrophobic feeling of
Oh,
like.
that made me think
Oh,
of
why
like
can't I move my feet? You know, like it freaks me out. Yeah,
It's a twofer.
it is.
like
Oh,
rest,
but you do
almost
do
like
fun
restless
socks,
legs.
so I
syndrome.
like
oh
that.
yeah, always do fun
Oh,
socks.
Cody, I
Yeah,
love
thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yeah,
So cute.
it's one of those things that guys can do.
it's like
Wear
the only
super
thing.
colorful.
Yeah, I get to wear a white
Wild.
shirt and a different tie every day.
Hey,
So
tie
I'm
and
certainly
socks as long as you jazz it up.
Yep.
That's your flair. I
good.
like it.
National Night Out Day. Now this is an interesting one. We're actually doing this
it's like
next week in
October.
San Angelo. Or,
No, I think it's like
in
October.
Okay. So Night Out Day.
And so National Night Out is for like first responders, police officers. It's like the opportunity for the community to basically come out and like meet and greet and have fun. And San Angelo,
Does that coffee thing.
they
at
do
the
yeah, the
cactus.
coffee with the
Yeah.
cop.
I
But
heard
they
that on
do
the radio. I
they
like
do
that.
a National Night Out, but they push theirs back to like October. But it's cool because a lot of places will do National Night Out in one central location. So like back home, it would be like one of the bigger parks, and all of the police would be there. Here, they do it in like different locations. So like different points within the city. They do one like out in Wall as well. So you don't have to. Everyone doesn't have to like converge in one area. It's kind of just a cool opportunity to talk to police officers in a setting that
Is not.
that's not like, hey, you're getting pulled over
You're
because you're
getting
getting a
a
ticket.
ticket, yeah.
Right. So this is interesting that they go into the history of National Night Out Day. And they say the National Association of Town Watch sponsors National Night Out in the United States and Canada, although the origins date back to the early 1970s. The day has been celebrated since 1984. That's
How about
interesting.
that?
Interesting. Fun fact. Did you know?
Did you know?
I didn't even know National
didn't
Night Out
either.
Day existed.
I didn't know what that was.
So
I think it's cool.
had no idea.
When do you think it is for San Angelo?
I think it's like October. They usually push it back into October.
Okay.
And I think that's, I don't know this for a fact. I think that's like a weather related thing. Just because it's always so freaking hot. And hot.
Yeah.
104
San Angelo's
this week.
not going to want to.
Hey, did you know?
I did know because
'Cause you
I'm
did the
doing weather.
He's doing the weather. He knew exactly how hot it was going to be. I'm not sure which which day in history Cody usually uses. So
Does he
I'm
do
just
a
going to go.
history day?
He does. We do this
Oh,
day
I
in
thought
history
we
after
did.
National Days.
Oh.
It's been a while.
Is it new?
Sort of new. Were
Well,
you
y'all
here last week?
canceled
You
me
weren't here
last
last
They
week.
don't know what the show
We
is
weren't.
going to be.
We weren't
so-
sure we were going to do any shows last week because we were waiting for big news on a few things.
Which
Yeah,
is
and then the week
maybe
before,
coming
I
still.
had an actual work thing.
Yeah,
And
because you
I
do
was
have an
gonna
actual
send-
job.
I know. Then I was going to send my husband, and then he had an actual work thing.
Because
so
he also
that's
has
right.
jobs.
That's
he
right.
does have a job.
So this this day in history thing that I have is chronological.
Ooh,
May as well use it.
Fancy.
chronological,
Chronological. Starting in 1497.
which we all remember very well.
That was just the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. John Cabot returns to England after his first successful journey to the Labrador coast.
I don't know what that means.
I don't
don't either.
I don't know much about the
Confused.
Labrador coast at all.
Lots of
Dog.
dogs. just an island of dogs. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to skip over some of these until I see one that's interesting, because I don't really know anything about this either. The CSS Alabama captures the USS Seabride near the
No,
Cape of
keep
Good
moving.
Hope. Yeah. Hey, let's just Martha Turner.
Nope.
Okay, no.
No.
William Kemmler becomes the first man to be executed by the electric chair.
Oh.
That's super interesting. 1890. I thought it was later.
Every time I think of the electric chair, I think of the Green Mile.
Yes.
Like literally every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cried like a baby in that movie.
Same.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
The Japanese army in Korea surrounds a Russian army retreating to Manchuria, 1904. This is not as good a list as what he gets.
I
need to ask him. I feel like I'm failing too.
Dang it. It's
This
all
is
right.
it for me, guys.
Too
How
many
can I put
guys.
how do I put mine up?
Yeah, here.
Hey, there
You
you
got
go.
a better one. Oh,
1945, an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima.
that's a big deal.
Yeah, and so today they do a memorial service every year, every year in Hiroshima. And today, I believe the mayor of Hiroshima is how they labeled it this morning on the news. But he basically used the day to kind of talk about how, like, hey, let's stop using atomic weapons.
I think I agree.
Yeah, it seems like
I'd like. It seems like
Seems
a
like
sort
a
of a
humane
given,
thing to do.
like a thing that we
Yeah.
should maybe not do that anymore.
Have
What was the
have
one
any
about
of you
the
guys
Jamaica?
seen?
after 300 years of British rule, Jamaica became an independent country within the Commonwealth of Nations.
That's really interesting. Going back to the nuclear stuff, have either of you guys seen Chernobyl?
No,
On
but
HBO.
I've heard
I heard you can tour it
amazing
now.
things.
Whoa, I didn't
Yeah,
know
because
you
my
could tour
husband
it.
is dying to do it, and I'm like, I think I'm out.
Yeah,
I think I'm a no-go on that.
Was it just a mini series on HBO?
yeah, it's a miniseries, like a timeline of the events surrounding the. The first episode is basically like a slow burn horror movie.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just starts with they don't even show the explosion close up because it wasn't a meltdown.
Right.
The actual core of the Chernobyl power plant exploded, and they were just like,
Well, like supposedly, I mean, who knows? The internet says that,
Yeah.
like in a lot of those pictures, like there's still like the outline of people like on buildings where they were just
yeesh.
disintegrated. That's
But was
pretty
that on
lighthearted.
Facebook? Because that's the
Yeah, I mean it's all real.
Facebook.
That's
Yeah.
a thing that existed in Hiroshima though.
Yeah, which is
That was-
crazy.
Yeah.
I can't.
So here is something that's interesting. In 1926, Gertrude Ederle, at the age of 19, from New York, became the first woman to swim the English Channel, which broke the men's record by nearly 2 hours, which is really cool.
Wow.
But kind of coinciding with that, I don't know if you guys have seen the video of the guy who was the first person to use a hoverboard to go across the English Channel. He just did it like literally like Marty McFly style hoverboard. I don't know if
No.
yeah. Maybe I don't know if you can find the video. I'm sure we can somewhere.
I'm just gonna write this second.
Because
Search for hoverboard.
it's wild to see. I mean, it looks like almost like the Green Goblin from like the old Spider-Man
Really?
movie. Like
I
he's
was
just
Oh,
like
nice.
When you said hoverboard, I was like, those weird things with the two
I
wheels.
know. I didn't kind of wrap my head
he's
around
like
that.
literally.
Across the
Hey,
English.
Hi,
David's
David
here.
Wagner.
Join us, David Wagner.
Okay,
Hi,
one of
guys.
these.
How are y'all?
You're so
One of those
busy.
hoverboards.
Yeah.
Can't join us. Look.
we're talking
here's his
hoverboards?
appearance.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
We're
wait,
talking about the hoverboard across the English Channel. Okay.
Oh.
I see.
Was it actual hoverboard or was it one of those water propulsion? No, it was a hoverboard.
yeah, it's like a real live hoverboard.
That's pretty cool.
And he had tried it once before.
He almost looks like the Rocketeer.
Yeah, kind of.
Or the Green Goblin.
That's the one that I. Yeah.
There you go.
Spider-Man.
Yes.
All right, Zoltar. Thanks for the ad, Liberty Mutual.
Yeah, congratulations, Liberty Mutual.
Hope that's done.
Re-advertising,
Hope that's done soon.
courtesy of CNN there. But it's kind of wild just to see like technology, and evidently he's working on a flying car as well.
There it is. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
mean he literally took off from one side to the other, and yeah, he just lands right back on the platform.
I'll bet that was tiring.
That's crazy.
No, can you imagine like the balance that you have to be able
Right.
to?
And then you
not
still
flip
have that
yourself
heavy
upside-
thing stuck to your feet.
Have you seen? I saw it floating around on Facebook a while back. You know, they have the jet propellers, like the arm, like you can basically lift yourself up off the ground.
Yeah.
And I think his name's Adam, the guy from the old, what was that Discovery show where they would like
Oh yeah, Mythbusters.
Yeah, Mythbusters. That guy. They built an Iron Man suit, like a real live Iron Man
Nice.
suit, and he propelled across the ground.
that sounds
as
like a
Iron
lot
Man.
of fun.
Yeah.
I might be one of those.
Right.
Yeah. Once it's real,
Another cool
and
day.
also once I'm a multi-billionaire.
Cool thing from
Pumpkin
today that we
ornaments.
were discussing, Lucille Ball
That's right.
was born on this day in New York. She would be 108 years old today,
Man.
if I do the math correctly. I used to love I Love Lucy.
Yes.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I do too. I can still watch it.
Yeah.
Just
It's great.
the humor of her relationship with Ricky.
Yeah,
Yes.
and like that kind of like slapstick comedy being done by a woman at that point
Yeah.
as well was like kind of just mind blowing.
I also enjoyed. My mom has a not as thick as it used to be Spanish accent, so it was always funny to watch the show and like the humor that came from the way Ricky Ricardo spoke,
Yeah.
where it would just be like nobody understood what he was saying.
Like, huh? Like what?
What did he say?
The Vita Vita Vegemin episode and the when she and Ethel are working in the chocolate factory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those episodes
Classics.
are
I
absolute
like
classics.
the wine, the grape
Yeah,
stomping one
yeah,
too.
that's a good
That
one, too.
was funny.
She was pretty funny. She was okay.
Yeah, she's all right.
She's all right.
She worked out. That's it
what
though.
else we
Nothing
got?
else.
Is that
There's
it?
nothing else
Nothing else in
exciting.
Hey, actually, this is pretty crazy. 1991. I'm gonna switch to mine.
Ooh.
I mean, might not be all that interesting to some people, but it's a big deal. 1991, Tim Berners-Lee publishes the first ever website at info.cern.ch.
I wonder if that's still a website.
Find it.
I don't know.
Do it.
So
It has
what's
to be,
really
right?
crazy is this guy, Tim Berners-Lee, worked at CERN in Switzerland. And he noticed this problem with scientists when they would leave for other places, would leave with all of their institutional
Nope.
knowledge. That might actually be it. No, hold on. Yeah, that's it. That is the first ever
That's
website.
actual-
Yeah, that's
Stop
what
fucking-
hypertext
I can't.
initially. It's going to be probably documents, because he was creating a way for scientists to leave behind knowledge for other people to use, and it became the internet.
Interesting.
But wait,
It's just hypertext.
Al
That's
Gore
it.
created the internet.
Yeah, it was Al Gore. So anyway,
This is amazing.
yeah, it's crazy
What a
that website is still
Terribly boring website.
there. Yeah, it
We
was
need
just
some graphics.
No
or
kidding.
Some GIFs. or
the idea
something.
behind hypertext was really just text that links to other
You
text,
can
and that's
see
it.
a separate discussion of this.
I'm
point.
getting any pictures. I'm a picture
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah, and we've been trying to mess that up as much as we can ever since.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So there you go.
You could literally spend hours on this one website.
Yeah. There's probably still a lot of research just hanging out there.
So that was a really funny topic this morning. I was listening to on the radio. Like if you were in the 1980s
Yeah.
and you found a file of some kind, a tape, whatever it was, and it gave you all of the information of like now, technology wise and stuff. Like what would be the craziest thing that like in the 1980s you would have been like, okay, like sure, like
Bad bangs.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah.
Bad bangs in the 80s being
Bad
the
bangs.
craziest thing that... No,
Well,
the
that you would
craziest
see
thing that you could
now.
expose to people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in
so
the
like
1980s.
like if you were in the 80s, like a cell phone. Like just the simple fact
Right.
that like with my cell phone right now, I could have found every answer that we're looking
Yeah,
for.
this
Right.
is
You know what I mean?
inconceivable in the 1980s.
No Cliff Notes.
No Cliff Notes.
Right.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, just the
Hoverboards.
Books
People
sort of slowly
people
going
literally
away.
Yeah.
flying across. Yeah, that's a big one. I think people like not just grabbing a newspaper in the sense that we used to, not watching news in the sense that we
Or
used
the
to.
the newspaper that used to be on at the libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the library cards that you used to have to pull to go to their
Exactly,
section.
just
The
just
Dewey Decimal
ability
System.
to...
We used to have to
Yes.
learn the Dewey Decimal
if,
System.
Yes.
if you don't even have to do it from your living room with a phone, but just the fact that you can be like, you know what, I do need to look something up at the library.
just-
I just
yeah.
go to the catalog
Yeah.
here. I can do all my research wherever I am.
Yeah.
I like to
No,
use the
you used to have to go to
librarians
the
because I
library.
want them to feel like
They're really
needed.
they're really super helpful. I was looking up
They are.
a story from 1994, and I was having a little trouble finding it.
it's
And
amazing
one
they
of
just
them-
know.
Yeah, one of them was like, "I'm going to do research on that, and I'll let you know."
But like my 13-year-old son, he was here. We were actually watching a show, and they were having to pull up the old news articles with that archaic screen, where you're sliding
Oh, yeah.
through. And they had to go to pull their card, and
Microfilm,
was
microfiche.
looking super confused. He's never even seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, he just didn't have a clue.
That's like, the you watched Stranger Things.
Yes, I did.
So apparently,
for that.
after the 3rd season, there were people posting online that said, okay, so they work at this newspaper, and sometimes he's in this red room where it looks like he's dipping his photographs in water, and I don't understand. Does that make them clearer? What's happening?
Nuh-uh.
I
It's a dark
remember
room,
my high
yeah.
school had a dark room.
Yeah.
Like for our photography class, you would go in and develop pictures. Of course, the teacher had to be around because it was a dark room.
And it's full of good things for you.
Yes, exactly. So it was.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's
Always
funny.
a good hiding
That's-
I gave a consent, so I was going through some stuff, and my brother and I, we used to fight over that old yellow Sony Walkman, that
Right.
they
Yeah,
came out
right.
with
Yep.
that was supposedly water resistant or whatever. And so I still had it because at the end of the day I won and Kevin.
Right.
But it had a tape in it, so I took the tape out and I closed it and I handed it to my 13-year-old. He had no clue what
Of course,
it was.
yeah.
It took him hours. He could not figure out.
That's why
how
it's fun
get
to
this
watch
tape.
kids react.
Yes.
Still on YouTube when
Or
they're
the
like
have you seen the ones where
Oh,
they're
yeah.
trying to
Rotary
use
phone.
the rotary
Yeah.
phone?
incredible.
And they pick it up and then they put it down and then they can't not figure it out. It's
Right.
We were walking outside literally a little while ago, and somebody dropped like a CD, and we were all like, "You're still carrying CDs?"
Who
Yeah.
has CDs?
I bet they still have a binder.
Full of
Or you
CDs.
could-
That was my favorite. Like, all right, what are we gonna listen to on this road trip?
Probably Daft Punk.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah,
That's
CDs are
amazing.
awesome.
Yeah. Hey,
Hey, what
what's our
time
top 10?
is
Yeah, it's 11:32.
it?
It's 11:32. We have a top
That's
10.
my favorite moment
Do we
from
have
the
any
show
idea?
ever.
Ever.
Go here. What time is
Not
it,
gonna
Jeff?
say it.
It's 11:17.
So Danielle brings our top 10 to us today.
That's right.
Yes. I'm very
Which
excited about
which
it.
is
Top 10 Broadway shows.
That's really fun.
it is
The
fun
Broadway shows.
and like super controversial, just because of like
People will have.
people have it's such a topic where people are like, no, like this one's the
This
best,
one's the
this
best.
one's
Yeah.
the best. And
Yeah.
Let's okay, just in case. Nobody's watching on Facebook, so. Facebook, start watching.
Facebook, get on.
Yeah.
Come on. We need some comments. Go share.
Go share. Tell people to watch. We want to know.
Make some comments.
There's a person.
Oh, look, a person.
It's probably us.
yeah, watching ourselves.
All right. So, since it's your topic,
Okay,
you get to start.
I like to start with my favorite, and then digress. So, my favorite is Wicked.
Wicked.
Yeah, hands down. Well, okay, so I will say the ones I've seen. And Wicked
let's
is by
see.
far one of my favorites.
don't
Which,
know, we're gonna have to look at-
ironically, it's the. Have you seen it?
I haven't. No.
Have you?
I have not,
Okay, so it's the
but that book has been
pre-story
around
of
for
Wizard
like.
of Oz.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's before the Wicked Witch becomes the Wicked Witch.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's like her college years and it's a whole thing. And I actually hated the Wizard of Oz. Like it freaked
What?
me out. The
That's my favorite
concept
movie.
of it, like I just could never.
Oh, man,
I
did
didn't
you?
ever even want to watch it that much. But after this, I mean, it is. I love it.
There really is something about going to see a play.
I love it. And in New York, I'm sorry, I love that city more than most. And
It sure does have a distinctive smell, New York City.
I love it. The singing.
I love New York too.
So I took my daughter to see this in New York last March, I guess.
Yeah.
And the whole time before, I'm like trying to get her jazzed up about it. So I download the soundtrack and we're listening to it. And she's just not having it. She's a typical 18, 19-year-old. And she's like, these songs are so lame. And we get there, and she's my child. So I look over, and she's got tears streaming down her
Yeah, I mean,
face. And
it's weird
afterwards,
because-
she's popping them on her social media. Like,
Yeah.
she loved it.
Of course. I mean, the thing is, musicals can be difficult when you're watching them as a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't make as much sense in 2D.
yeah.
Oh, that's true.
When it's a stage show, though, man, that stuff is fun. It's it's just ridiculous.
I will say that was one of the cooler things, though, that NBC started doing with the live.
Oh, the same thing that they used to do with like Peter Pan and
Yeah,
stuff like that?
yeah. I thought that was really cool to say, okay, if people maybe aren't going to Broadway anymore to see these things, but we still have the ability to bring them to people.
And people don't, I think most people across the country don't have much of an ability to see a Broadway show, even if it's the traveling
I was
version
going to say
of
the
it.
traveling versions are still really good. I had a girlfriend that went to
Yeah,
see
absolutely.
Wicked in San Antonio, and
I
she
mean, these-
raved about it.
Yeah, they're actors who are working really, really hard to get on Broadway.
Yeah.
And the chance to be in the traveling show is still huge,
Still, yeah.
you know?
I just,
But in
oh,
San Angelo, we
love
don't
it.
generally get that much of an opportunity to go to Broadway shows. Thankfully, we have San Angelo Broadway Academy.
Yeah. And SAPAC brought, what was it, just a while back, the Legally Blonde
Oh, that's cool.
musical came. And
I've
several
seen
people I
that.
talked to said it was really, really good. It was, the national traveling show.
Yeah.
They work really hard to get good shows in, so.
Okay, what's yours?
Only because it recently has made a slight comeback into the limelight with the fact that it's going to be a movie,
Uh-oh.
and that's Cats.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
I've never seen it obviously live, but I've seen productions of it through video or TV or whatever it may be. I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate Cats. But I think just the iconic,
Wait, you hate
Factor of it.
actual cats?
that's going to actually
correct,
get
but I
you
also
a
hate
lot
the
of hate.
play. Yeah, I know. Well, cats are dumb.
That's weird.
What, the fact that I hate cats and I think they're
You're
dumb?
just saying that.
They are dumb.
Keep going with the Broadway
They
thing.
pee on everything. Anyway,
'Cause so do dogs.
no, it's different.
Okay, boys.
Yeah, this show, I'm going to be like, what?
No, I think the
He's going to get it on his Facebook so he can get
Yeah,
on
right?
I'm
there.
glad to be over here. Let's see.
it's like super iconic in the way that people talk about cats and like just the kind of the pop culture like phenomenon that it like
Yeah.
was and is for people still. I think is cool, like
For that, I'm going to play the movie trailer.
because I don't think there's a lot of people like if you talk to people, I would venture to say that there aren't a lot that are like, oh my god, I love Cats, like that play, that it's just amazing. But I think it's the fact of like I saw Cats, like being able to say that.
in the 1980s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't
Huge
guess
deal.
I've ever even.
I mean, it's basically anthropomorphizing cats
Here's the problem.
and making a Victorian story out of their lives.
I don't know why they're doing this though. Like the movie. Like that seems like just one of those no one asked for type of things.
Yeah.
Take it back.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
they
some
have
of
a
it
great
has to
cast.
be like some 1980s nostalgia mixed in with stuff like that.
I mean, it's
don't
got
know.
what, Jennifer Hudson, Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor Swift, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
She's a huge cat head.
It has
It has a lot of famous people.
a wild amount of famous people. It's
I'd
just
go
kind of
see it.
creepy.
It is looking a little creepy, but I would totally. do
Dame
it.
Judi
So is,
Dench.
honestly, the stage play of this is a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. A milk bar? That's one of the things that I saw in the background. Hey, Idris Elba's in it.
He's in everything right now.
Yeah. Making that money.
Oh, I love
Ian
Jennifer
McKellen.
Hudson's.
Wow, jeez. Okay,
Interesting.
cats.
Cats.
So there you go.
You hate them, but you love them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
He
I'm
does-
gonna
He makes them so mad.
do what?
Nothing.
They scratch everything.
Okay. So
They're just a pain in the
take a
butt.
timeout.
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
what's your choice?
Hairspray.
Hairspray.
Yeah. Hairspray's a great play. It's a lot of fun. I went and saw it. So a friend of mine worked for one of the theater companies.
Didn't they come out with a movie?
Yeah, they did in like the 1980s or 90s or something like that.
Okay, because I think I saw the movie.
Yeah.
maybe.
So when I went to see it, the guy who played Norm on Cheers played the mom.
Really?
Yeah. And that's
That's
one of the things
amazing.
that no matter who the cast is on Hairspray, it's always a really big man who plays the mom. Because of Divine being one of John Waters' major actors. Divine was always like the mom or just one of the characters in all of his movies.
That was played by John Travolta in the movie, correct?
I don't actually know. I don't know that I've ever
don't
seen the movie.
remember.
I've seen the play,
I think
and
it
it was a
was.
lot of fun.
You're gonna
Like
have
they
to
do this crazy thing with
Google
this
that.
bed where the bed is actually
right there.
yeah, the bed is actually vertical. So it makes it look like an overhead camera shot. And it's just fun. It's a really cool play. And to see the guy that plays Norm like running around on stage in high heels. And,
Yeah.
Worth
Yes.
yeah, totally worth it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one is The Lion King.
The Lion King on Broadway.
It's amazing.
Here's my problem with that.
Amazing.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay, do it.
The Lion King is so good. Like, it's my favorite. It was the first movie I ever saw in theaters, like as a
Okay.
child. I don't feel a need to go watch someone like do that in person. You know what I mean? Like, I don't.
So what I loved about it is like their costumes.
Yeah.
Obviously, but like the animals. So they had this amazing headdress set, and the giraffes. Like they didn't try to be animals.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have costumes on. They're just very Africanish, amazing, beautiful. I don't know. It's
I mean, it is
crazy.
visually like really appealing,
It
obviously,
is.
but
People work really hard on a lot of these costumes. They do some really, really incredible work that you just wouldn't see in a movie. Unless it was like a weird Terry Gilliam movie. And you can be like, wow, that's odd.
Well, and I probably one of the hooks for me, because I am a philanthropic kind of person, is at the end of ours, one of the previous cast members was ill.
Oh,
I
okay.
think with cancer, and so they at the end stopped and just talked to the audience like we were humans. And afterwards, they came around just in the audiences. The giraffes obviously had their huge headsets and stuff off, but talked to us and greeted us, those that wanted to stay around and contribute. And it was just a
Cody
really
Brown's
beautiful
here.
thing. Hey, Cody.
that is really cool.
What's
up? Oh, what are y'all
we're
watching?
looking at
Lion
Broadway
King.
plays.
Broadway
So
plays
one of the-
Lion King.
One of the most interesting things about watching a play, especially a huge production like this, is seeing how they pull off some of the effects that they pull off.
Yeah.
Like that sun thing is really kind of simple because you can sort of tell that it's just a corrugated,
Right.
or it's layers of plastic that
Just look at
when
the
they open
elephant
it up.
coming down. Like it
Yeah,
was just
that's
amazing.
cool.
I do that in my living room every night.
Oh,
Walk like that kind of elephant.
no.
Yeah, I
I
build
think I
elephants
cut
like
you
that.
off.
Should we?
What were
Let's
you
see if we can
saying
make you
about
some room.
No,
what
no,
you
I
didn't like?
can't stay. Just wanted to say hi.
No, that was it basically.
Hi.
Just that
Hi.
I'm sorry. I can't stay.
Okay.
Just had to
That's
get my
fine.
you got to go to lunch.
Not yet. Gotta go send a couple emails. Then lunch.
Then
All right.
Yeah. Y'all have fun.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's really cool and it's awesome that they can visually make it that stunning and do the effects of the zebras and all that stuff that we just saw. But at the same token, like, I've already seen it. You know, like, I've seen
Yeah.
it in what it to me is its purest form. So I don't necessarily need to see
The actual
people
hand-drawn
do-
animation.
Yeah, I don't need to see people do that on stage as well.
Yeah.
That's just my personal.
So we've
I think you
got
should go to it and then reevaluate.
I'm sure. No, I agree. I'm sure if I
Yeah.
went, I would love it because I
I
love
think
The
you
Lion
would.
King.
Yeah. Because I was the same way.
Yeah.
Honest to goodness, when we went, this was the very first Broadway show I had ever seen, and I was super bummed out about it because I didn't want to see it. And but it was the only one that wasn't having like a blocked off week,
Mm-hmm.
and the time worked out and whatever. So I was like, well, we're not coming all this way
And not going, yeah.
going to a Broadway show. So
Right.
we did, and I mean, at the end, I was just in awe. But I also had that bad attitude about Wicked because I hated The Wizard of Oz, and so
right.
I think once you get there, I don't know if it's just the culture or the experience.
Yeah, it's going to be
or,
atmospheric thing. I
like,
think.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, before you go see a play, you might be a little bit resistant because you're like, it seems like weird and old-fashioned. And
Yeah.
and if you've ever been made to like sit through class where they were like, hey, everybody, let's watch Our Town.
Yeah.
It's like, but then you sit and you watch a play and it's just different
Yeah.
than watching a movie. It's a
Yeah.
totally different kind of experience.
And I think that's what my daughter experienced, which
Yeah,
I was super
you can
happy
feel
about.
it's sort of like I'm not a huge fan of watching baseball
Hate
on
it.
TV
Yeah.
because it's really slow and boring.
I really hate
But
it.
if
in
you
person
go
either.
to a stadium and you watch a baseball game where everybody's eating and having fun and enjoying themselves,
Yeah.
it's a totally different kind of energy. I'm not saying watching a play is like going to watch baseball, but
But it
No,
is.
I
But
agree with that.
it's-
With the beer and the hot dog, it does
Yeah.
change things for
Yeah.
me.
yeah.
And I like the singing and the chanting and it's fun.
So mine is a little bit Debbie Downer.
Okay.
Oh, my.
But I'm a huge like nerd for World War II and just that whole era. And I remember as a maybe middle school, probably like 7th or 8th grade, the traveling production of The Diary of Anne Frank came to Indianapolis, and I remember like just being totally and I had read the book, I had seen the movie, all of that, but seeing that in person and the way that they just portrayed that on the
Right.
stage and made you feel like you were in the 1940s and that you were going through the same like internal fright and worry that they were going through.
Yeah.
And the hurt that her father had and those types of things, like that was really moving even as like a 13-year-old kid to be able to just see that. So yeah, that's just one that sticks in my mind, and I'll never forget watching being very involved in watching it, and still when the Nazi soldiers bust through the attic and slam the door open and bust the door open, just being like,
Crushed.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like as a 13-year-old kid being like, I can't imagine being 13, 14, 15 years old and dealing with that, obviously. So that was a very
I
moving
actually
thing.
got the pleasure of touring
Oh, wow.
the house, and it's quite impressive. And when you get there, I mean, we got there early and still stood in line for 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
But everybody, I mean, there's a 5 or 6 hour, and they finally go to the line where they think they'll get in and tell them, from this point on, just tell people not to. But it's amazing. And
Yeah.
everybody's very respectful in there, and it's just quiet and somber, and nobody's really taking pictures, which this was only a year ago. So
Yeah.
it was,
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't even imagine. But they still had some of the wallpaper that they had preserved, and a lot of it was crazy.
And I think I love it too in the sense that being kind of a history nerd,
Yeah.
the further we get away from events, the less we care about those events.
Right.
And so things like this keep that alive.
Right.
And I think that's hugely important.
Especially
agree.
when they call it the Diary of Anne Frank because it's a real diary.
Yeah.
Right. This is a real life occurrence, as written by a 13-year-old child.
And stuff that her father didn't even know at that time that she was dealing with internally and struggling with.
right.
And for him, I think about that now as a father of daughters, to be like, man, she was still dealing with real life teenage stuff,
Yeah,
on top of this
absolutely. On top
horrific
of the fact that-
event that's going on.
Right.
Well, and I think, didn't they come out later because he recently passed away and said that they were going to try to publish the actual thing front cover to cover, and there was a lot of controversy behind it because, it did have some sexually explicit stuff in
Yeah.
there that she was dealing with as a 13-year-old does, and he had left all of that out of respect for her.
Right.
And so everybody's kind of like,
So it's
do you do it? Do you don't?
that's one of those subjects that's really difficult, I think, for people in America because there's a show out right now called Euphoria.
Oh,
Have you seen it?
yeah. I've only watched the first 2 episodes because it's such an
hard, right?
emotional drain to watch
Yeah.
that, and especially having
Yeah.
Am I
again
gonna
having
have
daughters.
To watch this now?
So
I
there's
Is it amazing?
it's about a teenager who's addicted to drugs, but it's about more than that because it's hard to watch. Like all the actors are adults,
Yeah.
but they're all adults who look like teenagers. Zendaya's in it.
I love her.
Yeah. Well,
She's a good actress.
that's the thing though. Is like you see, and that's how you. Oh, I don't want to go do the show. But that's the wild thing about that show is kind of seeing those roles be played in the way that they are, and
Right.
and going. I wasn't dealing with that kind of stuff as a teenager.
But, the things that they're dealing with, they're similar to what probably Anne Frank was dealing with.
Yeah.
But in the way that our culture is now, and the ubiquity of information,
Yeah.
they're dealing with things on a whole different level, and the show is pretty explicit. So you will be super
say I'm not
uncomfortable
gonna
the
You should
whole
though
time.
because it is like wildly visually appealing. Like
Yeah.
the cinematography in it is
Yeah.
amazing. It's a well done show. HBO does it, and they do everything fantastic.
They do.
I have to go do the
He has to
weather.
go to his show.
So
Bye.
So I'm
it was
gonna.
wonderful seeing you.
It's great seeing you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Cody.
Till next time.
Yeah, finish out that list.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're gonna go with. We got some viewer suggestions.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that up real fast so you guys can see what we've got here. Savannah works in the
Phantom
front.
of the Opera, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, she went Phantom of the Opera, so we're gonna pull up a
That
clip
was
of that
going to
real
be my
fast.
next,
Yeah?
actually. Mm-hmm. I love the Phantom.
I loved that when I was a kid. I don't think I realized it was a Broadway play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I just thought it was. When I was a kid, I was really into
Like
things
theater?
like yeah. When I was a kid, I was really interested in like Dracula and Frankenstein and stuff like that. So I started reading basically novels from the late 1800s,
Oh, okay.
horror novels and science fiction from that time period,
Yes.
and I really enjoyed stuff like that. So I just sort of assumed that that's what this was.
Phantom of the Opera is great.
It's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Just the idea that there's somebody who was disfigured in that way, and
Right.
it's sort of a similar story to
Beauty
the
and the
Hunchback of
Beast?
Notre Dame.
Oh, I was going to say Beauty and the Beast.
Maybe it's also similar to that. Yeah, there's that
It's their
similar
love
theme
story,
to like
kind of.
being ashamed of who
Yeah.
you are and being scared to show that.
Yeah.
It's always a big hit. You can always tell that story, and people are going to relate to it.
Anybody's going to relate to it.
Yeah.
Everybody has
Being-
something that they're...
But this does it with an awesome organ.
That's the difference.
That's the difference. Let me see if I can skip
Love
forward
it.
to some of the actual Phantom showing up with his cool half mask. That yeah, perfect. His cool half mask from
Cool
200
half
feet away.
mask. And look, she kind of looks like Bella at Beauty and the Beast.
She does.
Mhm.
If
If it was yellow.
if we
I'm a
could just
Beauty
there
and
he
the
is.
Beast.
That was a super cool. That's a really cool story too.
Yeah.
But this is a pretty iconic
Yeah.
show.
I saw this for the very first time. I think I was in 6th or 7th grade. And
Really?
I had gone to LA to visit my uncle. And, of course, he's all about culture, and he wanted to take me. And I just cried and cried and
I'll
cried.
bet, yeah.
I loved it. I thought it
Yeah.
was gorgeous.
That looks like a really interesting production too, because it looks like they just projected the rest of the castle on the walls behind them.
Yeah.
That's neat.
really cool.
All right.
Okay.
So let's see.
Anybody else?
We've
What is
got
your next
just one more.
Did you have another?
I don't have another, so
Okay.
I'm really thankful that.
Somebody's adding to it.
Yeah. So she's got Chicago. Have you ever seen that?
I've not, but I've heard it's amazing.
I've heard it was really good too, and
I didn't
super
even
visually
watch
appealing.
the movie whenever, because who
Yeah.
was it? Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's his name?
Um,
He was a sex symbol in the 80s, and then just disappeared.
I can't think of the guy character.
Yeah.
Was it Michael Douglas?
No. It was the guy who played Dick Tracy. It's really amazing that he could be so famous in the 1980s and 90s, and then so, Richard Gere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Richard-
yeah, he was Pretty Woman.
That's right. I'm thinking of all these other movies, and it's like Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Anyway, that's.
Oh, I forgot he was actually the guy in it, though. Well, I mean, because I didn't.
I think it
watch
was
the
Richard
movie.
Gere, right?
Oh, wait,
Watch me be
let's
totally
see.
wrong. It's
Just pulled it
it's
out.
like John Travolta somehow.
Ah, that's funny.
I'm gonna
Cody
do
never did
Chicago.
figure out if John Travolta was in Hairspray.
Oh, in Hairspray. Here we go. Chicago the movie.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was also what's her name? The blonde.
Here, we're gonna go with the trailer.
Okay.
I don't know what Chicago's about. I'm assuming it's about gangsters.
I mean, that would be my guess.
Yeah, judging by the Tommy guns and the fedora-ness.
Catherine Zeta-Jones. Who's the blonde chick? Oh, it's gonna drive me nuts. She's the one that had some plastic surgery that doesn't want to talk about the plastic
Oh, okay,
surgery.
yeah.
And she looks totally different.
I don't remember her name right now.
I know. They drive me
Yeah.
nuts.
Bridget Jones. Person.
Yes, Bridget
Yeah.
Jones person.
Huh.
Renee,
Maybe she
is
did.
it
Renee Zellweger. Yeah.
Yes. That was gonna kill me.
Yeah. Everybody talked a lot about that when that
Yeah.
happened.
I watched something she was in the other day, and I mean, you can't even hardly tell it's her.
Yeah. I mean, they've both
Weird.
sort of.
And I can't put my finger on what she had done.
Yeah. She's
But-
insists that she just lost weight.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Deny.
I mean,
I don't believe it.
I
I'm gonna go ahead and call.
I'll let somebody. Hey, that's the guy from The Wire, though.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. He's a good
I'm
actor.
not seeing Richard Gere.
Neither am I. I might have
you
been
just-
wrong. Hold on.
Wait,
there he
he
goes.
is. Yeah, you got him.
He's a judge? Or his name is Billy? I don't really know.
Congressman.
I kind of wish our
Political
microphones still
something.
looked like that, though.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Just. So, neither of us knows anything about Broadway.
No.
We're just commenting on the trailer at this point.
Yep. Jersey Boys is one.
Jersey Boys? That's
Did
all.
you ever get to see it?
I never got to see it. That's all Billy Joel music,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So someone was saying that, I mean, forever and every time I went to New York, I would try to see it because everybody raved about it. Again, it was one that I didn't necessarily know anything about or cared to see, but everybody raved about it. But they just did a movie on it.
Oh, they did?
And so now, of course, me and my husband are dying to see it because it was so good.
Well, here.
He was such a good guy. Or it
Billy Joel.
portrays him, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I already had that up. Didn't need to cut to us at all.
Oh,
I just got to us for a second. Yeah, Billy Joel is awesome. I think he's been performing at Radio City Music Hall.
yeah.
What? Every couple of months for the past. He's just going to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think he's 80.
I don't know how old Billy Joel
he's
is.
80 something. Here, I'll look.
Yeah,
on
look
you.
that up.
Um,
Yeah, I mean he's been around. My guess would be he's in his 60s,
really?
maybe 70s.
Why was I thinking 80?
I don't know.
Because I want him to be older. No, it's not Billy Joel. It's
Oh, it's somebody else. Why did I think Jersey Boys was a Billy Joel thing?
I don't know.
It's about the for some guys from Jersey.
Let's see.
We've been talking about Billy Joel this whole
Frankie
time. Frankie Valli?
Valley. Yes.
Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, I was looking
which
at
you
the
don't
actor and I was
realize
like, wow,
how
that's strange. It
many-
doesn't look like Billy Joel at all.
You don't realize how many songs, like, because when they said Frankie Valli, I'm like, I don't even have a clue who that guy is.
Yeah.
But he actually is, he's 85.
Oh, okay. So he was a really big deal for Italian Americans.
Yeah.
Frankie
but
Valli.
like, Big Girls Don't Cry, Sherry,
Right.
like
Okay.
a lot of his songs, you don't realize, like, I knew.
Right. This was all
Grease.
in the what, 60s, right? That's
yeah.
when he was mostly famous, Frankie
Yeah.
Valli.
But he actually had a lot of, they say he had a lot of mafia ties. Like there was the mafia would hire him for private shows and things like that. And
Right.
they of course paid
They probably paid
way
well.
better than a full concert.
And it
or
was
whatever.
probably intimidating to say no
oh,
to somebody who was in the
family.
family
Like,
in that
okay.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would do it.
Totally.
I don't believe that I'm ever going to do anything in my life that will gain the attention of anybody in any kind of mafia.
I don't know that I could
So-
ever put myself in a position that I would, like I would.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to ever do any kind of performance where somebody who's like a big time criminal is like, "Hey, get that guy Jeff."
No.
No.
No, we were actually, so on one of our New York trips, we were taking the train from Long Island into the city
Mm-hmm.
because my husband was working in Long Island and I just hitched a ride. And we're sitting there and I went with my girlfriend and of course we're blonde and tall and we stand out like, I mean, because we're all, average New Yorkers, you think they walk around in stilettos and like all New Yorked out. They're
No.
not. They're in tennis shoes. They've got their duffel bag and everything's in it.
Because you have to walk.
Yeah, so we walk around as tourists and we're all dolled up and ready to go. We're on this train and this guy sits down next to my girlfriend and she's just word vomiting everything about us and where we're from. And he has clearly some sort of bodyguard or something with him.
Right.
And he starts to tell, and he has this very Sicilian name that's like this
Wow.
long, 13 letters, and they own a restaurant that they want us to come to that night, and he has his office is on Broadway. And
Yeah.
I ask him what he does, and he says waste management. I am not kidding. And I was like, okay, we're going to leave this conversation
Waste
now.
management.
Yes. I
Hey,
couldn't
man.
believe
I
it.
mean,
I'm
he
like,
probably wasn't going to ask you guys to do anything illegal, but.
probably not, but I obviously don't want to get shot either. So,
Nobody gets shot in New
let's
York
be
anymore.
stereotypic. No.
It's almost impossible.
Almost impossible.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
You can't even carry a gun.
In New York,
Yeah.
you can't. It's not
You
like
can own a
concealed.
gun, but if you're no. I mean, if
Not like in
you
Texas
are
where you
if
can
you're
walk
like a
in Taco
licensed
Bell and there's a
right,
guy with a
yeah.
gun on his hip.
If
Okay.
you're a licensed like security professional or something like that, you can be licensed to carry a gun.
Yeah.
But generally, even if you are licensed to have a gun, you have to keep it locked up at home in a separate container than the ammunition.
Oh,
And if you're traveling with it, it absolutely has to be locked up.
interesting.
Yeah,
Does you know
different
good
rules.
if
Yeah,
it's locked here and then the bullets are locked here.
you can shoot somebody if they come into your house,
You can throw the gun at 'em.
or you can shoot at the firing range.
Oh,
But if you have the gun out on the street in any way, aside
bad.
from being like,
bad deal.
yeah,
Law enforcement
you're going to jail.
going to jail.
You'll go to jail for a pocket knife.
Hey, did you know that in Texas, fun fact, that pliers, if you have pliers on your
I
body,
heard about
it's
that.
Still, yeah.
That it was
Weird
like if you have
laws
pliers
that
in your back
happen.
pocket and your pants tucked into your boots
Crazy.
for various.
Yeah, things
Yeah.
need to change.
All right, we're out of here.
Did you know?
We're done.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Later.
Bye. Done and done.
We're done. Thank you.